कंपैरिजन एक तो होता है कि चलो बंदों का कंपैरिजन हो सके। तुम मेरा कंपैरिजन ऐसे इंसान से करते हो जिसकी वजह से मैंने क्रिकेट खेलना शुरू किया। स्किल लेवल में कोई मुकाबला ही नहीं है। He's the most complete batsman ever.
I feel that this fellow is playing much the same as I used to play.
5 years from now, who could possibly come close to being Sachin Tendulkar? Not him, but close to 80% of them. Which player, which two players in the Indian team?
I think that is not going to be achieved.
Who was your hardest opponent as a batsman facing you, Ian?
Me? Yeah, Kohli doesn't need to answer that. He doesn't have anyone in that category, really. I found, I've always said this is on public record, that the times that I played against Sachin Tendulkar, I found him to be, on the one hand, the most difficult batsman to bowl to because he could put away your good balls. Deliveries that I would use short of a length at a batsman to tuck him up and to dry up runs. Sachin could punch it off the back foot, down the ground, through the offside or pull it through the onside. So to me, he was the most difficult guy that I bowled against.
No cricketer can be like Sachin because 14 years getting a first class 100 and playing 7 people in Mumbai are national players. Getting a chance into that and getting a 100 and debut 100 he got in the debut. 16 years he represents the country. 17 years he gets the 100 for them. That is impossible. Those are kids. And playing Waqar Younis and Wasim Akram at the peak at 16 years. You imagine. Nowadays 16 years playing Brett Lee. Impossible.
If I get asked who, in my opinion, is the world's greatest batsman, I simply say Sachin Ramesh Tendulkar. So often you can say a person's first name and they know exactly who it is. You maybe think of Tiger, as in Tiger Woods. Sachin in Sachin Tendulkar. Everyone around the world that has watched a little bit of cricket knows who Sachin Tendulkar is. In fact, people that don't even watch cricket know who Sachin Tendulkar is.
In Test cricket, he was like a wall, and these are the players that I can remember bowling against. And I remember playing against him in India, where I just felt like he had everything covered. When I was running into bowl, he kind of knew when I was in a bowl and away swinger, he could leave it. He kind of knew when I was in a bowl in swinger, and he had to play at it. Yeah. Or if I was going to bowl a short ball, and he had to duck. He just had me covered. I've never felt so hopeless before, bowling to a batter before. But he was one guy that made me feel helpless. I just felt like I couldn't get him out. I had no answer to him and had to ask Graham, look, give Paul Harris a couple overs here. Let me just think about this. Or give him a single and I'll bowl to the other bloke. But yeah, he was pretty good.
I haven't seen him in person because he hasn't toured Australia. But I did see him play in the one-day games in television. And I was very, very struck by his technique. And I asked my wife to come and have a look at him because I said, I never saw myself play, but I feel that this fellow is playing much the same as I used to play by looking at him. And she had a look at him on the television and she said, yes, there is a similarity between the two.
People ask you who's the best batsman of your era, and it's sort of divided between 2 players, and that's Brian Lara and Sachin Tendulkar. Those 2 players were easily the best 2 batsmen. Some people say it was harder to bowl to Lara, some people say it was harder to bowl to Tendulkar.
That's a lovely stroke, that really is.
Now Tendulkar gets in the act.
Where amongst the greats does Sachin Tendulkar rank for you?
As far as where do I rank him, I've said forever, Sachin's technically the best batsman that I've ever seen, I think, and played with or against. Whatever plan that we came up with as a bowling group, he found a way to combat it. Whether it was in India, whether it was in Australia, there's the well-documented 240, I think he got at the SCG against us one year where he didn't play a cover drive for the entire innings, but he'd been out cover driving a few games in a row leading into that. He went into the test match saying, I'm not going to play a cover drive in this game, and we were all like, yeah, if we bowl full and wide, of course you're going to play a cover drive, but he didn't. He wore us down and he made a magnificent test match double 100. So no, he sits right up there. When Sachin and I played, which is, we've both been retired for sort of 10 years now, trying to compare the way we played the game to the way the modern guys are playing it, it's almost a bit of a different game now. So But certainly through the generation that I played, he was technically the best player that I saw.
The best batter, I would have to say Sachin Tendulkar.
10 ओवर तक उसने मुझे कोई शॉट नहीं मारी, अप्रॉक्सीमेटली 10 ओवर। उसने मेरे सारे ट्रिक्स देखे, मैंने उसको सारे ट्रिक्स फेंके, टॉप स्पिन किया, दूसरा किया, टॉप स्पिन किया, आर्म बॉल किया, स्क्वेयर स्पिन किया, तेज ब्रेक किया, फ्लाइटेड बॉल किया। वो 10-12 ओवर जो है ना वो मज़े से देखता रहा। उसके बाद उसने मेरी धुलाई शुरू कर दी। एक टाइम पे ये आया कि मैं वसीम अकरम के पास गया, मैंने कहा वसीम भाई लगता है इसको सब पता चल रहा है, तो मुझे आप हटा दे इधर से और किसी और को ले आए।
Who are you putting forward if you're like speaking to an adult, a child, anyone as technically the most gifted cricketer, if you could just replicate anything that you've ever come across? Because I'm guessing, and Maxi said this himself, it may not be what he was doing with the ramps and paddles and everything else. So who for Playbook would be your number one to look at?
I would say Tendulkar. Across all formats, the player I have seen who adapted, adjusted, and was consistent in whatever he did, and brought that pure element into batting. You know, that purity of his game was such, it was very difficult to replicate. You know, you'll get better run getters, you'll get people who may score more runs at a faster pace, guys who will come with more power, but when you mentioned the word technique, so I'm coming to that made batting look, you know, that easy. And even when he was scoring quickly, it was all proper cricketing shots that came naturally. Front foot, back foot, bouncy track, turning track, you know, one-day cricket. He didn't play much of T20 cricket, test match cricket, you know, batting number 4 in a one-day game, opening the batting. He was a sensation. You know, there were very little changes he had to make because it all came naturally to him. And there was an element of purity about his game and his technique, which I have not seen with too many.
Sachin को face करना पड़ा वसीम अकरम at his peak, वका यूनिस at his peak, मैगरा at his peak, शेन वॉर्न at his peak. फिर ये सारे जब गुजर गए तो 10 साल बाद अब आते हैं the fastest bowler on the planet Earth. सचिन को अब उनको भी face करना. So what he did, Sachin? He smashed that era of early 90s and he smashed those guys in the late 90s, including me. I feel sorry for you, Sachin, that you had to face a lot of people like us and the best bowling attack in the history of cricket. But you know what? I'm really proud of you. You know that this is the guy who faced one of the fearsome fast bowling in the world. The best bowling talent in the world who landed on planet Earth, including Saklan Mustaq and Shane Warne. The way he thrashed everybody and went out to score a billion gazillion runs, including in the first class. I think इससे बड़ा player दुनिया में कोई नहीं आ सकता. This has to be Sachin Tendulkar. इतना मुश्किल बेचारों को मुसीबत फेस करनी पड़ी. लेकिन the way he came out and bat, I think it just this guy has to be one of the greatest ever periods.
You have to see it to be able to believe what it's actually like. I remember the first test I played against him in Mumbai, and he came out but we were fielding on the first day of that game, and he came out to bat, being his home test match, and Damien Fleming was running in to bowl the first ball to him, and I've never heard anything as loud in my life, and Sachin actually pulled away. And we had to go and do it all over again. But he's basically a god, and people think that he is something over and above the normal human being in India. That's the way he's always been treated, and I guess you look at his career, and there's probably not too much you can argue about as far as being that little bit different than everybody else.
A lot of folks ask me questions about the best batsman that you would have seen and all that over the years. I've heard of Bradman. I respected the pundits' views in the past about Bradman. When I was asked about Sachin, I could be able to tell them that I did see Sachin, so I was able to make a verdict on what I think, because seeing sometimes is believing. Seeing Sachin, I think he's God where batsmanship is concerned.